God's wrath, if we were going to define it, would be his divine displeasure with sin. God is displeased with the sin of mankind. He actually cannot be in the presence of that sin. When our sin was poured on Christ, as we were just singing earlier, God had to turn his face away from our sin. God and sin do not mix. And sometimes we object to this idea of God having any wrath because we equate God's wrath with human anger. And human anger is, based on selfish, personal reasons. Maybe it's a desire for revenge. And so we are angry with people. We figure that's what God's wrath looks like. He's just angry. And we need to not forget that the wrath of God is completely righteous, completely perfect in character. It is what needs to happen against sin. A man by the name of John Murray, there's always Leon Morris, of course, but John Murray said this. He said, "Wrath is the holy revulsion of God's being against that which is the contradiction of his holiness." Right? So you have this ungodliness, and ungodliness is a lack of reverence for God. It is just ignoring God. It is man's neglect of God and rebellion against God. And that is the evidence of his ungodliness. He doesn't think about God. He switches off about God. He can go through the whole week and not even think about who God is or how wonderful he is and how special he is. He can go his lifetime doing that. That's ungodliness. And the unrighteousness that we read right there means it's an injustice toward people, toward others around us. So we are ungodly. Men are ungodly. They are also unrighteous, and they don't deal well with other people. They have an attitude against them, or it could be an action against them. It's just not loving. And together, these two words show mankind's failure to love God and recognize him for who he is, and a failure to love other people. And if you know anything about the scripture, those are the two main things, right? The two commandments. What commandments should we keep? Love God and keep his commandments, and love your neighbor. Love the people around you. And so here in verses 19 through 27, Paul is going to demonstrate man's ungodliness, how he just does not give God the due credit, the due reverence to who he is. And then in verses 28 through 32, he's going to show man's unrighteousness, his wickedness. And he talks about here in verse 25, the truth that this verse is referring to this, what the truth is. And the truth, they suppress the truth, that truth being the true character of who God is. Their wickedness presses that out of existence. They don't even think about that. And whenever the truth starts to exert itself, whenever that true character of God starts to make them feel uneasy or kind of like they're not as moral as they thought they were, they push it away, they suppress it. And they somehow drown its voice. Have you ever seen those pictures of people just putting their hands over their ears and I don't hear you, I don't even know what you're talking about? It's the kind of the nature of all the people around us, right? And sometimes us maybe. Denial of who God is.